the next thing we're going to want to do is actually create a new post. We're going to have a function called add post to database, and that's going to take in a post variable. And then in index.js, we're going to have a function called create post. Now in our index.html, we're going to change this from add post to create post. So then when we click our create post button, it's going to call this create post function. So now we're going to need to create a new post. So we're going to create var post equal to display name. We don't actually have a display name yet. We're going to be working on that in the future. So we're going to actually set up a user account with Firebase. So you have like a username and a password, and that's how we're going to determine our display name. For now, I'm just going to put my name with an exclamation mark so that we will be able to know that we added the post. And then our content is going to be our new post content ID. So remember, jQuery starts with this, and then # new post content dot val. And then our likes are going to be an empty array because nobody's liked our post yet. We're just creating it. And same with the comments. And I believe that's all post needs. Yep. Okay. So create post will create our post with the display name, content, likes, and comments. And then we're just going to call the Firebase function add post to DB. Now that it's ready, add post to DB, and we're just going to send in post. So this will send it to firestore.js, add post to DB. Now we have this function, but we're not updating Firestore yet, so now we need to write the code to do that. So luckily this is a pretty easy process. We're just going to do db.collection and then reference our posts again. And then we're going to do .doc, .set, post. And then we need to do this .catch, error equals bracket, and then 2 curly brackets. Just type that out word for word, letter for letter. Basically all this is doing is if there is an error adding our post, it will call a thing down here. So ideally we will never have to run into this position, but you need this error code to exist. So you can just copy it, and we can just maybe put a console.log. There was an error. And you might be looking at this code like, how would you possibly memorize that? Like for reference, I don't even memorize that. I would find this code online, copy and paste it in, and use it however I need it. So all you need to worry about is db.collectionPost is referencing our posts, and then we're setting a new post. So let's actually see if this works. So we're going to write, this is a new post, exclamation mark, and we're going to click create post. And since we didn't actually signify whether anything worked, we have to go to Firestore, and there's a new document. So this is a new post, display name is column exclamation mark. So we have connected with our database. Now there's two things that we're going to want to do to make this obvious that we've connected to our database and made a new post. The first thing is we're going to want to remove this automatically. And then the second thing is we're going to want to create a new post in our page without having to reload, so that it's obvious that we created the new post, because right now somebody would just keep clicking the create post button and they wouldn't know. So what we're going to do is, after we've added our post, we are going to say new content, or new post content shouldn't have any text anymore. New post content dot val, and then empty. So if you put a pair of empty quotes, it will set the value to be empty quotes. So we're just going to test that out now. You'll notice we have the post that we just added, test post, So when we click create post, it creates the post, and then it also deletes the text from here, so that's good. And if we refresh the page, we'll see test post. It's not in any sort of order though, it just kind of comes in random. So then the last thing we're going to want to do is actually add that post. So luckily, you might be wondering why we didn't just have this code in here, right? We made our own function and just sent the post in. The reason why is because functions are great for reusing stuff. We want to add the post to our HTML when we load all of the posts, but we also want to add posts to HTML when we create a new one. So because I put it in its own function, we can still just call it. So if we call add post to HTML, and then we send in our post variable, we've already created the functionality for this to happen. So if we refresh our page and we do new post and then click create post, you'll notice that it looks like nothing happens. But if you scroll down to the bottom, new post was added. Now the thing is, it wouldn't be obvious that that's happening. We want to add our post to the very top of the list because it's the newest one. The reason why it's not doing this is because if we go to our add post to HTML, you're going to notice that we have this append. And append adds our post HTML, so all the stuff, to the end of our posts container. But luckily there's a really simple way to fix this. We can just call a function called prepend. But now we're getting into a situation where when we add our posts here, we want to add them one after another and do an append. But when we add a new post, we want to add it to the top of the list to prepend. So how do we know which one? Well, all we have to do is create another variable called prepend, and that's going to be either true or false. So up here, we don't want it to prepend, we want it to append and put it at the end of the list. So we're going to say false. And then under create post, we do want it to prepend, so we're going to set our prepend variable to true. So for example, when we call add post to HTML, it's going to send the post in, then it's going to send the value true into here. So now during this instance of this, we will have a variable called prepend that equals true. So you'll notice it might look like you had to name them the same, but you don't. For example, if I call this post with 2 T's, it would still send that value into here. Well, actually it wouldn't, because this is called post. So if we change this to post and then we change this one to post with 2 T's, it would still send this value of post into here, because it doesn't go based on naming, it goes based on order. So this is the first variable we send in, this is the second variable we send in, this is the first variable we get, and this is the second variable we get. So that's why our prepend will equal true or false. So then all we need to do is say if prepend equals true, then we're going to copy this and we're going to set this to prepend. Else, if it's not true, then we're going to append it. So now if we refresh the page, and I'll just type in, oh whoops, prepend post test. If I click create post, so now we have another interesting problem. So we have prepend post test, which did go to the very highest point of posts container, but create new post was also in posts container. So now it's a step lower. So instead of doing that, we want to take our new post container and put it above our posts container. So now we have our new post container and then a list of all the posts. And then everything's good. You'll notice that it's too far to the left though, and that's because at some point in our index.css, if we look for posts container, you'll see this margin top, margin left. Well, we can just also add it to new posts container as well. And then we'll try refreshing the page. And that did not work. So let's inspect here. Oh, it's called new post container. instead of new posts container. So we'll control S to save, refresh. And now if we do one more test, it automatically creates our post at the very beginning. And we have all these posts in here. So now we are getting our posts from the database as well as creating new posts.